I'm just gonna put my two arguments and then. Yeah. No pressure. It's meant to be last. Okay. But we'll see. You just need a synthesizer. I can say I tried. My toes are done. Well, that's like, so you don't hire I mean, I'll cut them, but like, yeah. Go away. Yeah. Well, there's this is the one down here. Oh, okay. I might just here. I might okay, great. Or I can.
Why don't you ask them to stand up and then you'll be able to get in?
Oh, I was gonna
You have to wind down. And you're still doing it.
哦，达到了，不对，是60码，7卡的，好，
Oh, yeah, it's wonderful. Well, whenever
I really thought it was, because I tried to download Twitter today to text, but I couldn't remember. So you can get me in one
No, I haven't. I mean, yeah, I have to. Yes. I have to learn.
Yeah.
Yeah, they probably do. Yeah. I think maybe, yeah. Also, we're doing trivia about him. You know, I don't know him that well, so I feel like, but maybe it'll be too useful. I don't know, maybe, hopefully. Yeah, that's cute. Good job. That's why you're yeah. Because then they're like, come on, you don't know this? She literally said I can't. I was like, what's happening? I relate to that. That's how she's like. No. Oh my god. At my graduation, my mom and Jessica literally complained the entire time. They were such like buttholes. Anyone in our situation would have complained just as much. Because there were these flies. There was like a ton of them. It was like fly season. Oh, there's a hatching season. And they were flying all over us. And when you spotted them, they would leave It was outside. Oh my god. It was so fun. It was awesome. They were really small.
That's probably when they're big, but they're very small.
No, they were like this.
Well, the other thing that it was just like I know, like everyone at campus was like, oh, this cat is an A plus cat.
We didn't know.
But yeah, I didn't think they honestly yeah, that's how
Okay, well, at my high school graduation, we literally thought we were like the kids. No, actually, it was the way back. So it was like not as bad. Oh yeah. Is he less stressed now? Yeah. It's over.
I don't think it's supposed to be like oh yeah, the person who charges for that. And you can simply add her now. And like let's say because she's totally straight. It's like she got really active during that process. Yes, she's against.
Oh no.
Yeah. And it's like this woman has a lot of power.
Oh, I texted her last night to find out about the site of I used to text her. But how right, because I searched frustrated. I like to no, and that's in so but I did it's the same phone. Well, Monday we got find it. Yeah. Well, I don't. So, well, if you can explain it, I have a friend dropping by tomorrow morning. I like it.
Yeah. but also it's fine.
I want to welcome you all to Clarion Performing Arts Center to celebrate the Lunar New Year with us. My name is Clara Hsu. I'm the Executive Director of the Performing Arts Center. And we're really happy today to have the Tranquil Resonance Studio, its principal David Wong and its members to celebrate with us with a tea ceremony and then the Guqin playing, and a very old friend of mine, old because we've known each other for 40 years. And she is the guzheng master, and she will be playing here for us too. So please enjoy our program. Afterwards, there is refreshment in the back, and it's all Chinese New Year goodies. So you don't want to miss that. You want to go over there and have some of that. Okay, thank you, and enjoy the program.
Chinese New Year. Welcome, welcome all. Thank you for joining us today for our celebration of the Chinese New Year. So we started with this tea ceremony. This is actually one of our traditions at Tranquil Resonance Studio that we'd like to start all of our events with a tea ceremony. But this one is a little bit special because it is the New Year. So we had them preparing for us. Can you read this here really quickly? First, while I show them. The 8 treasures tea. This is a tradition in parts of China where we have different sweets, various dried fruits, goji berries, the kumquats, the red dates, lotus seeds, chrysanthemum blossoms, sometimes rose blossoms. I have osmanthus blossoms here, and then of course tea. So this is the tradition of just having the treasures for the New Year's and wishing for all of us to have a treasured New Year as well. So that's why we have this 8 treasures tea for the Lunar New Year. So just to give you a little bit of background into the Chinese New Year itself, so just to understand it a little bit more, the actual celebrations dates back fairly early on, Han Dynasty. So we're talking a good 2,000 years ago. The idea of actually celebrating the New Year's at the beginning of the lunar calendar started around this period. Prior to that, the Chinese had been celebrating the New Year, but not necessarily at the beginning of the year. Being an agricultural society, a lot of times they would celebrate, more importantly, was the actual Mid-Autumn Harvest Festival. But eventually we started seeing the shift towards the actual beginning of the year, and this was during the Han Dynasty. We have a lot of traditions that date back very old. The idea of Shou Sui, which is literally the New Year's Eve to welcome in the New Year. This happens very early on into the Jin Dynasty. So look at 266 to 420. Tang Dynasty, 618 to 907, is where we get the idea of to Bai Nian. The Bai Nian is literally you go out and you wish your family, you wish them good luck, you wish your family and friends good luck. And according to legend, it was the Emperor Tang Taizong who started this because he wrote on a piece of paper, 普天同庆. So everyone wishing everyone a good, prosperous year. He wrote this out and gave it to a minister, and this suddenly became the trend that everybody went out and wished everybody a prosperous new year. So this dates back very old as well. 5 dynasties, we have the idea of the couplets, and we're going to be looking at those a little bit later on. And then finally, during the Song Dynasty, we start to see the wide usage of firecrackers to ward off evil. So this is just some of the traditions historically, and obviously have been passed down to us today. So today we're going to share with you not only some of the music and traditions, but hopefully we get to share some of our luck with you as well. So to join us now, the members of Tranquil Resonance Studio will be performing Tune for a Pleasant Evening, Liang Xiao Ye. So this is our Guqin ensemble. Please welcome the members of Tranquil Resonance Studio. the instrument. Let me just kind of give a quick introduction. This was the Guqin. So today we're going to be hearing some traditional scholarly music from the Guqin, and then from the folk musical instrument, which is the guzheng. So we're actually hearing a little bit of both today. But this was the Guqin. So one of China's oldest string instruments, dating back over 3,000 years now. And the instrument actually hasn't changed very much. Very simple construction, 7 strings, 2 pieces of wood. The instrument is lacquered. And so it was never meant to be loud, and it was never meant to be played in a large stage. So usually for a small group of friends, this was the really purpose of this instrument. So, but we are using it now in this kind of setting, and this, I thought, choosing the repertoire for this concert was kind of fun for me because most of Qin music tends to be much more quiet and meditative. And so thinking of music for the New Year's, that was interesting for me. So going into a little bit more of the culture of the New Year's itself. So the word for year in Chinese is Nian, but we also have an old story of the Nian Shou, or the actual Nian monster. And so that's what it gives us the idea of kind of where the tradition of fireworks and the firecrackers comes from. Is that the legend goes that there was once the Nian monster who would come out each year and eat children. So he would come into the villages and chase and eat the children. So the adults were like, well, what do we do? So everyone figured out that you can use firecrackers and all this bright red to scare the Nian monster. And so to this day, we all put all this red around us, especially at doors and things, and then of course the fireworks. Now we still use firecrackers and everything just to ward off evil spirits and all. So especially during the New Year's Eve and the New Year's Day, you'll hear all the firecrackers going off here in Chinatown. So when I was preparing this, people were asking me, well, some of the things what I want to talk about with the Chinese New Year. Let's look at some of the things that we'll see around during Chinese New Year. One is this character. This is the character for Fu, or good fortune, or good luck. But if you actually look around Chinatown, sometimes you're not going to see it this way. You're actually going to see it this way, and it's upside down. And the reason for that, once again, Fu means good fortune. And the word for to be upside down is dao. So but it sounds like to arrive, which is dao. So that's why we turn it upside down, wishing that fu dao, that good fortune arrives into our home. So businesses and houses at their front doors, they will post this character, but it's usually upside down. So if you ever wonder why, well, at least people can read Chinese, if you've ever wondered why the character is upside down, it's because we're using the character for dao and dao, because they're homonyms, they sound the same, that's why we turn the character upside down. So we see this a lot of times. So usually hanging at someone's door, you'll see it this way. So that's one of the things that if you ever look around Chinatown, you see it, then you'll know that this person is basically saying that we hope that good fortune comes and arrives to our home. Okay, this is another one. This is actually quite fun because I think a lot of Chinese people can't even figure out what this is. This is actually 4 different characters mushed into one. And the actual full character is zhao cai jin bao. So zhao meaning to attract, wealth, cai, jin to enter, bao is treasure. And it translates when wealth is acquired, precious objects follow. But you see what's happened here is jin, right? Zhao is on this side. The radical here is the same radical for cai right here. This is also the bottom for bao. So you see what they've done is they put 4 characters together to create this symbol. And actually I just realized that Clara has it hanging on her door right there. So this is another just placed on doors and things. You'll see this character as well as zhao cai jin bao. So that's another one of the traditions that you'll see. Now for a little bit of festival fun. Dances were very popular especially at festivals. So it was a nice outdoor event, and fan dancing especially because of the beautiful flicking colors and the waves. So we'd like to welcome the members of Chinese Folk Dance Association to join us to present flicking fans. Please enjoy. So we want to look at a little bit more. So we think of holidays, right? We think of, you know, Christmas, we have Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, Thanksgiving is one day. Chinese New Year is actually 15 days. So traditionally, you would actually take 2 weeks off for your break. Think about that, right? So nowadays, most people take maybe the first couple of days off, but still, it is a tradition. So what are some of those days, the important days? The New Year's Eve is very important to us because this is the day that usually families will clean and get ready for the upcoming New Year. Then of course, the first day, Nian Chu Yi, is actually considered the Spring Festival. That's the first day of the Chinese New Year. Remember, we're on a lunar calendar, so that's why it's about the planting season. So that's why it's the first new moon of the first month, and so that would be the first day. The second day is the day that it's the opening of the year, the Kainian, and this is the day usually that if people do have businesses, this would be the day to do that, or you would go to the temples on this day as well. The third day is considered the Red Mouth Day. This is a day where we don't usually like visitors. We stay at home just in case, you know, anything bad or you say anything bad. So that's why we keep to ourselves on that day. And usually just the family stays together and we enjoy a nice enclosed meal. The fifth day is where we go to the temples to worship the god of wealth. So any time of festivals is a great excuse for the Chinese to get together to eat. So that's really what it's about. So that's why the meals for the Chinese New Year are usually some of the most elaborate that we're going to get. So this is of course the tradition of 拜年. You go to your families and you pay your respects to the elders. You go to bring them gifts, and of course the elders would pass out the lucky money in the red envelopes. This is the god of wealth, and so on that day you would go to worship the god of wealth. Then on the 9th day would be the day of the Jade Emperor, the king of the heavens. So that would be the day to go visit his temple. Then the most importantly is the 15th, which is the end of the Chinese New Year celebration, and it's the Lantern Festival. Traditionally, all the streets would be lined with lanterns, and people would go out. This was, at that time, is also, you know, to be able to travel at night, you would have to have lanterns. So at the end of the day, you would just go to visit all the family and friends, so it became the tradition to just light up the streets with the lanterns as well. So not only do we have all this eating and music and everything, but of course, poetry was a big part of the New Year's celebration as well. So we're going to share with you a poem. Clara, there we go. Clara is going to join us on stage for this poem to celebrate the New Year's as well.
This poem is titled Snow Flying in the Sky, and it is by a poet from the Song Dynasty, Sun Hei-zai. I will read it in Cantonese and then in English. So this is a winter poem. It has nothing to do with the New Year.
You didn't have to tell me that.
Let's hear it from the Chinese translation. Thiên上飛擎，不影響人間情薄。玉龍歸去，萬花葉落。雲破林梢天遠就，月臨禿閣分層閣。寄少年， 駿馬走紅，見東江。人都晏，朝機着，人已老，灰又壯。對瓊瑤滿地，與君尋促，最愛飛飛迷遠近，卻受夭夭還遼國。待都移，酒吧又烹茶，揚州河。Flying in the sky, after all, has little affection for the world. Going out, the jade dragon has departed, shaking down thousands of flowers. A break in the cloud revealed the trees and mountains far. The moon arrives at the corner of the house, remembering youth, rode on the best horse, ran on the best dog, and dismissed those who were kind, made poems out of shivering geese, mocked the hungry magpies, now old. The joy is like yesterday, facing a ground of white jade, drinking with you. Love the falling snow, fascinating far and near, perturbed by loneliness, how it expands. After the lamb and wine, boil tea, then ride the legendary Yangzhou crane.
Scholarly and folk music for you there. Okay, so we can't talk about Chinese New Year without talking about the foods, now can we? So we want to compare a little bit about what are some of the traditional foods that we have during the Chinese New Year. And it is different depending on what parts of China you're in. In the north, one of the most traditional food items would be the jiaozi, or the dumplings. Part of that reason is because the dumplings themselves resemble the gold ingots that the Chinese used to carry around, not carry around, but have as cash. You would have those gold ingots, the yuanbao. So that's why the dumplings are actually shaped like them. Now traditionally, they would also put a coin into one of them, and whoever found that coin would have good fortune during the whole year. Now, there's an English tradition of putting a coin into your Christmas pudding, for any of you who know that tradition. So this idea of putting cash into food seems to be universal. Okay, so another food item is the idea of braised pork. This was really interesting when I found this out too, because I had to ask around to some of my friends. I have students who are from both the north and from the coast. And what's interesting to me is that this is actually why I brought up the whole history of China. This is historic. The idea of the pig is such a symbol of prosperity for the Chinese people. It dates back to some of the earliest dynasties, over 2,000 years ago, to the Zhou dynasty, one of the earliest dynasties. And during that time period, tombs were found with all these pig skulls, because a symbol of prosperity meant that if you could sacrifice pigs during the funeral procession and be buried into the tomb, that was a sign of wealth. So this idea of sacrificing a pig was really important early on, and throughout Chinese history that is kept. And so even to this day, in the villages in China, whether it's in the north or in the south, a whole pig would be slaughtered for the Chinese New Year, and that whole pig would be consumed. Some of the meats used for making the filling for the dumplings, the pork belly used for braising, other parts would be salted and cured, and so the entire pig was used. And so even to this day, the idea of using a pig and pork for the Chinese New Year is very important. And we'll see the pork usage again in the southern dishes as well. So now we want to move into a little bit of folk music being played on the Guqin, which is actually not completely unusual, but it's usually the Guqin is very scholarly. But this piece, 4 Big Scenes, is actually the Guqin trying to mimic the Sanxian, which is kind of the China's original version of the shamisen. For those of you who know the Japanese shamisen, this is the Chinese version, which is it's 3 strings and it's fretless, so it does a lot of sliding. So that's why the Guqin, of course, we have no frets or bridges either. So that's why we can simulate that sound quite nicely. So here is a little bit of folk music played on the Guqin, 4 big scenes, 四大景. Please welcome. move to the coast a little. I know, I'm sure all of you are familiar with the idea of spring rolls, but the Chunjuan actually dates, has a wonderful history. It comes from the fact that in early parts of Chinese history, what was celebrated was something called the Guqin, which is the reference to the fact that the 5 grains and the 5 basic foods that would have been consumed by the Chinese people. And so there's a legend that when there was a certain official was trying to rush to do to get to the temple and to give his offerings, and so he took all the 5 elements on the tray and he wrapped it up in a rice paper skin and took it to the temple. And he realized that, oh, this is an interesting way of dealing with this. So they eventually ended up deep frying the thing, and it became known as the spring roll. Literally, it's translated from the Chinese chun for spring, juan meaning roll. So that's how in the coast, the chunjuan, or the spring roll, is still quite a popular snack, but it's definitely consumed during the Chinese New Year. So this is a very typical snack for the coastal folks. In other words, around Shanghai, Hangzhou, Suzhou, this was a very common food for the Chinese New Year. The other one is the 8 treasures rice. We saw the 8 treasures tea that we served at the opening ceremony. This is the 8 treasures rice, 八宝饭. So this would be made out of glutinous rice. Then it would contain all sorts of sweets, very similar sweets that would have gone into the 8 treasures tea. So you would have red dates, red beans in the form of a red bean paste, dried fruits, and this would vary for family and region. Lotus seeds, various nuts, like we would use walnuts are very popular. Walnuts are an interesting idea in Chinese because the walnut looks like a brain, so the idea that you eat the walnuts to help with your brain, to promote intelligence, so that's one of the reasons why you would see it in these dishes. And then the dried longan fruit, 桂圆, and then of course lots of sugar, 冰糖, would be placed into the stew. So this is another very traditional dish for the coastal folks. The rice ball, or the rice dumpling, 汤圆. Yuan means round, but it also means to be together and be complete. So that's why this is a typical dessert even for the 15th. For the Yuan Xiao, the Lantern Festival, this is a traditional dessert to be consumed during the Lantern Festival. So, with all this food, we're going to go into a nice drunken piece for you. This is Evening Song of the Drunken Fisherman. You can imagine the scholars hearing these fishermen coming home after a long day of work, and most of them are slightly inebriated. So they thought this was such, to the scholars, this was this wonderful carefree lifestyle. But as we all know, thanks to Discovery Channel, fishing is not easy at all. But here is Evening Song of the Drunken Fisherman. Please enjoy. Okay, so more foods, right? We're not done with the foods yet. So we went from the north to the central coast, now into the south. So Chinatown, of course, is mainly Cantonese, mainly Southern Chinese. And Southern Chinese food was probably the first introduction for most of you who've had Chinese food before, most likely it was started with Cantonese food. So of course we want to look at the Cantonese traditions because we have quite the elaborate menu for the Chinese New Year. Each dish having quite a lot of symbolism to it. So we're going to look at each individual dish. Usually, if you're having a Chinese New Year banquet, somewhere to 8 to 9 entrees, 8 is a number for 8 and 9, both numbers for good luck and longevity. 10 for 十全十美, being complete. So no less than 8, 9, 10 is usually the number of dishes that we would have. So let's take a quick look at them. Oh, here's more pictures of this. The first dish is the Buddha's Delight, Luo Han Zhai. Oh, I'm in the way. I'm just standing right there. Okay. And the reason why we have a vegetarian dish is typically, like in my family, on the first day, the first meal we have would be vegetarian. And the reason for this is because we want to hope at least that there will be less killing throughout the year. So the first dish, some people the first day would all be vegetarian. So it depends on the family tradition. But no matter what, we would still have at least one full vegetarian dish for the Chinese New Year banquet. The next dish is the whole chicken. It can be steamed, it can be roasted, but the reason for it is because we have a saying, 有头有尾, meaning we have to have a good start and a good finish. So that's why it has to be complete. And so that's why the chicken has to be whole, with all of its feet and heads and everything. And I'm sure all of you are used to your Safeway chickens. This is very unusual. And Costco chickens are the same way. No heads, no feet, no nothing. But we have to get it whole. So, same idea, the whole fish. Steamed fish, braised fish, you want the whole fish once again. But the fish also, we have, if you've noticed so far, we have a lot of words that are homonyms, that sound like other good luck words. So in this case, we have a saying, 年年有余, yu meaning abundance. And so the word for fish is also yu. So that's why we have 年年有余. That's why we have to have whole fish every year, and either steamed or braised, but we have whole fish once again, so that we have abundance throughout the year. Then here's that pork again. Remember we talked about braised pork and the idea of the importance of pork. For the Cantonese at least, we would have it in roast pork or the barbecued pork, the char siu. These are all the things that we would have also during the Chinese New Year. And another meat item would be the cured meats. Pork sausage, cured pork belly. Now this harkens back to the old days too, because before, during the winter, how would you have meat during the winter or even after the winter? You would salt things. So of course, in the West we have hams and things. But this is the same idea. We would salt pork belly, and we would have the cured sausages also. So during the first meal of the New Year, we would break out some of that meat, and this is what we would have for the Chinese New Year as well. And then the last dish, also playing off homonyms, shrimp stir-fried with green onion. Cong, or green onion, also sounds like 聪明, to be bright or to be smart. And xia in Cantonese especially, it sounds like the word to laugh. Xia in Cantonese is ha, so of course it sounds like people laughing, ha 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 ha, right? So that's why we have green onion stir-fried with shrimp, hoping that you will be both smart and filled with laughter throughout the year. So that's why, as I said, the Cantonese dishes are all extremely symbolic. And the last one is to have some form of lettuce dish. 生菜 in Cantonese, 生菜, which literally sounds like 生财, to grow wealth. So that's why we have the lettuce as one of the dishes as well. So that's why a lot of very symbolic dishes for the Chinese New Year. Now, we're going to bring you another drunken piece. I'm sorry, but the Chinese scholars liked to drink. And so the result of that is, of course, would be a nice drunken effect. But this is a play off of the traditional Guqin solo. This is a new arrangement with my guzheng teacher and, more importantly, my godmother, Master Liu Wei Shan, and I will be playing for you, this is the premiere of this piece, a new arrangement, a duet for guzheng and guqin for Jiu Huang, drunken song. And so that's why we're calling this the new drunkard. Please, we hope you enjoy.
I cannot drink. But my teacher is usually drunk.
He drank during the New Year's dinner. Chinese New Year thing without inviting the family up, right? So who better to invite my grandmother, my godmother up to play with us? Okay, so let's look at some of the flowers and fruits that you'll see, because especially if you are able to wander around. The flower mart again will be next week. Next week, Clara? Are they doing next week? The flower mart again? Are they doing another one? They usually do it at before the yeah, they do it before that's right, they do it before the parade day. The parade weekend also will have it. So you'll see some of the, so some of the flowers that you'll see, of course, the peach blossoms, symbolizing new growth and of course luck. The narcissus, the shui xian, for prosperity. The bamboo, what's interesting is that they call it bamboo, but it's actually not really bamboo, but it's the Fuwei Zhu, so Zhu Bao Ping An, good fortune throughout the year. The tangerines, once again looking like little gold ingots, so that's why the tangerines and oranges for success. Ju sounding like Ji for good luck, and Cheng sounding like Cheng to be successful, and the pomelo You Zi, oops, let's go back that one, there we go. You Zi for you, to have, and of course to have plenty of. So that's why we have all of these. So we'll see the peach blossoms. Actually here, most of the time what you're actually looking at are the quince blossoms. We don't actually use actual peach blossoms. In China, I think they actually do use peach blossoms. But here we have a tendency of using quince blossoms. The narcissus, this is not bamboo. It's actually a member of the Dracaena family, but they call this bamboo. So you'll see this throughout the Chinese New Year. And then of course the plate of all the citrus, all the things that. And here is the actual gold ingot right there, just so you can see. But this is kind of the fruit plate that you usually see in people's homes. So with flowers, this is not typically a flower that we associate with the Chinese New Year, but the song Jasmine Flower is almost the unofficial national anthem for China. It's one of the most popular pieces for China, and so we are going to invite our rising star to sing Jasmine Flower for us. So please welcome Little Hanson. On and off, and I realized I should have just kept them on, because it takes me a while just to put them on and off. almost 8. Thank you. Okay. See? Bring out the whole family, right? Elders, the kids, everybody. I didn't call her that. Okay, so the spring couplets. Now, I said if you get a chance to see it on the doors and everything, we have all these 4-character phrases. Sometimes they're even longer than that. But here are some of the more popular 4-character phrases. 金玉满堂, may your wealth, the golden jade, 金玉, come to fill a hall. 大展宏图, may you realize your ambitions. 迎春接福, greet the new year and encounter happiness. 万事如意, may all your wishes be fulfilled. 吉庆有余, may your happiness be without limit. 竹报平安, may you hear all is well. 一本万利, may a small investment bring 10,000 profits. 福寿双全, may your happiness and longevity be complete. And here again, 招财进宝, when wealth is acquired, precious objects follow. Now, these are things that in the old days, the kids would have to learn because on the first day, when you greet your parents or your elders, you would have to wish them one of these things. Nowadays, the only phrase most Chinese children remember is 恭喜发财, 利是到来, which literally means Happy New Year, where's the cash? Because they want their red envelopes. So that's the only phrase most Chinese kids know to this day. But in the old days, you would have to know at least a couple of these to wish your elders. Okay. Oops, I'm skipping things. So here you would see where a lot of these things would be hung. Front doors, there's that character for good luck, and then along the sides you would have the couplets that would be hanging along the doors as well. So this is definitely something, and then even in the homes you would hang them around doors and on the walls. So, let's have another Guqin piece come up and share with you this piece called Spring Dawn Chun Xiaoyan. So from our Tranquil Resonance Studio, please welcome Andrew performing Spring Dawn. So the Chinese New Year, of course, is celebrated throughout not just China, of course, around the world as well. So here we have some of the images from around the world in Beijing. They recreate some of the Qing Dynasty ceremonies here at the Temple of Heaven in Beijing. In Shanghai, the Lantern Festival at the at Yuyuan, very festive there. And here in Malaysia, even though there's a large Muslim population, Muslim Chinese still celebrate the Chinese New Year in Malaysia. In Singapore, there's a large Chinese of Chinese ancestry population in Thailand. So the Thai also celebrate the Chinese New Year. Australia, a large immigrant population from Hong Kong. So of course in Australia. Here in the US, in New York, definitely very big celebration. And of course, here in our wonderful San Francisco, we have our celebrations for the Chinese New Year. This is of course the Flower Mart Street Festival and our Chinese New Year parade, one of the oldest in the country. Paris even will have its Chinese New Year celebrations around the L'Arc de Triomphe, and in London. And so one of the most important aspects, of course, in celebrating the Chinese New Year is not only to wish ourselves a prosperous New Year, but also to pray to the gods and to the heavens to wish everyone has a safe, peaceful, and prosperous New Year. So one of the major traditions is the first incense that goes into the temple during the New Year's. So during the New Year's Eve, people would line up outside of the temple to be that first person, or at least the first group of people to enter the temple to put in their incense and to offer, to give their offerings to the gods. And so this is something that is also really important to the Chinese people. So throughout all the Chinese temples, even here in the US, the temples that we have here, people would rush to go and make sure that they can bring to be some of the first people to enter the temple for the Chinese New Year. So this is definitely very important in the Chinese customs. So for our last piece, we are going to be playing for you the Song of Gods and Men, Shen Ren Chang, a Guqin ensemble. So once again, to thank the heavens, thank the universe for the year that we've had, and hopefully that this year will be better, and that we will all enjoy peace, prosperity, safety, and good health. So please welcome the members of Tranquil Resonance Studio joining me for Song of Gods and Men. performers and members of Tranquil Resonance Studio. And of course, I want to thank all my stage crew, all the sound and lighting folks. Thank you everyone for joining us, and we hope that you have a prosperous new year as well. Refreshments at the corridor, please enjoy. Thank you very much. What happened here? All right. Oh yes, that's right. You can stand there. So as you're leaving or going out, we have a little red envelope for all of you as well. No cash for you, but a little bit of jasmine tea for you to take home and enjoy. Thank you so much. Very good. Help out. Thank you so much. I'm so glad you did it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Go help pass out red envelopes with Kimberly. Yeah. Happy New Year. Happy New Year. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, thank you. Very good. Yeah. Very good. You did a great job. I told you. 看到我爬上那个文人的那个